Welcome, friends and fans, to another edition of GalaxyCon Live, where we bring convention-style entertainment directly to you. And today, we have the cast of CW's The Flash, and now is the time for all of you in our chat room to start typing in your questions for them. Immediately after this, you have the opportunity to talk to them directly through our private chat options, as well as purchasing autographs, personalized video recordings, and much more, all available at GalaxyCon.com. And without further ado, let's bring out today's guests. First, she is an actress whose credits include Sleepy Hollow, Taken, and Watchmen. Today, she joins us to talk about her role as the interdimensional collector known as Gypsy. Please welcome Jessica Camacho.
Hi, everybody.
Hey.
Here. Hey.
We're so glad to see you. How are you doing in your part of the world?
I'm fantastic. I'm in Chicago. It's a beautiful sunny day, and I'm so excited to be here with you guys.
Oh, we are so glad to have you here. I for the boys show up, I've just got to say, I adored your character on the series. You hit the ground running, and you were like Racer X and Speed Racer. The minute you showed up, everybody was looked about you and wondering, whose butt is she gonna kick next?
She's pretty awesome. I love her too.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us today. And our next guest, he is an actor whose roles include Torchwood, American Horror Story, and Chicago Fire. Today, he joins us to talk about his role as the hero claiming to be Jay Garrick. Please welcome Teddy Sears.
Hey, everybody. How you doing? This is great. I wore my Flash gear for everybody, you know.
Ooh, I like
excited
that.
to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, boss.
Yeah.
Great to see you again. How you been holding up?
You too. Doing okay, man. Doing okay. I mean, I'm entertaining myself by growing the Corona beard, and
Nice.
haven't been to a barber in a few months. No, everything's fine. Thanks for having me, dude.
Oh, you're still dashing, young man. So fret not.
Young man, I don't know. It's turning color very noticeably.
I have several years on you. I can call you that. Hey! But let's bring in the most dashing guest of today. He is an actor with a tremendous body of work, whose credits include Dawson's Creek, Teen Wolf, and the audio drama Powder Burns. Today, we are talking about his performances as Barry Allen, Henry Allen, Jay Garrick, his return to Barry Allen, and so much more. He is one of our favorite guests. Please give it up for John Wesley Shipp.
Hey, guys. Hi, Jessica. Hey, Teddy. Hey, Patty.
Hey,
John. Good to see you, man.
Good,
Good
John.
to see you guys.
Great. How have you been holding up?
Well, as the oldest member of this group, I've been holding up pretty well.
Outstanding. So there's so much out. None of you, I don't think any of you were on the show at the same time. So we'll sort of partially segment this.
Well, I will have to interject.
Yes.
I did kill.
Yes.
He did kill
just
me.
in time for Thursday. I did kill Barry.
I tell you what, you weren't all on the same time. But what I like to do is I like to ask each of you, first of all, how did you get involved in the show? Now, John, let's pick it up from after Henry Allen had gone away. When did you get a call about we might have another role for you?
It's weird how that rolled out because I didn't know it was coming. I figured when I went back to do the last 4-episode arc of that season that Henry Allen's usefulness had come to an end and we'd be saying goodbye to Henry. Well, I go for a costume fitting and I'm trying on these ragged prison clothes and I'm thinking, oh, we're doing a flashback to the prison because Henry was already out. Kate, the costume designer, says, of course, you'll be fitted for the Iron Mask separately. And I go, the Iron what? She goes, oh, they didn't tell you? Oh, never mind. So then Jesse Martin and Grant Gustin and I were sitting off camera in between scenes. And they said, so did you hear what you're going to be doing next year? And I said, yeah, I'm the man in the Iron Mask. Go figure. And they're like, yeah, that's all you know. I'm like, there's more? And they said, you're the real Jay Garrick. I said, cut it out. You know, and then I typed to Greg and I said, Greg, I'm hearing these rumors about roles I may or may not be playing going forward. And he went, oh my God, I thought they told me. And then he and I had this remarkable conversation the next day. And he spun out this amazing story where I would die as one character in the penultimate episode of season 2. I would be revealed as the man in the Iron Mask who turns out to be the real Jay Garrick, which is the role the audience wanted me to play to begin with. So I thought, man, that is astounding storytelling.
Absolutely. Teddy, how did you fall into the role as the pseudo Jay Garrick? Oh, is he frozen? Oh, there you go.
I had an audition come through. Here we go. I had an audition come through in it might have been a month or two before season 2 was about to start. The character was basically a fake audition scene. They wouldn't tell me who I was really reading for. And by the way, it's not like I was singled out. I was in a waiting room full of a lot of other actors whose names and faces I recognized. This is up at Warner Brothers in Burbank, and all I knew is it was supposed to be a mentor figure for the coming season, like a big brother. Oh God, kind of like Han Solo used to tease Luke Skywalker kind of thing. Like, let me show you the ropes, kid, type of thing. Couple scenes. One was a one-on-one with Flash. One was a one-on-one with the Caitlin Snow character. A little bit of a budding romance, maybe. The entire, which is very rare now, the entire creative team was in the room. Nowadays it's a lot of stuff's cast off tape, and these are intimidating rooms to walk into. When you're facing like a panel of people, a couple rows deep. But whatever. I guess it went fine enough because this is the one time in my career this has happened. I'm driving home from the audition and my phone rings and my agent calls and they said that they're very interested. And I mean, there were other guys reading after me, so they might not have known.
Oh my God.
But I got the call, and then a couple weeks later we were able to solidify it. And then I remember before I took the role, because it was in Vancouver, my wife and I live in Los Angeles, it was going to be a 9-month commitment more or less. And they laid out to me over the phone what they had, in store. I knew the Flash, but I didn't know who Jay Garrick was. I could picture the guy with the silver helmet, but I didn't know the history. I didn't know the mythology. Yeah. And they pitched this idea to me that, for the first half of the season, I would be this golden age Flash, mentor figure, everything that they laid out in the audition. And then turns out I would be masquerading as that guy, but I would really be this, the season 2, what they call the big bad, a character named Zoom, which as an actor, I mean, to play one part, to be picked to play anything is a dream, but to be picked to play 2 things and to have that on my plate was a dream. So I jumped, and this is why I'm talking to you. It happened, and it's one of the best things that ever happened to me.
Yes.
Hey, how's that? That's weird. Yeah.
So when you were cast, they went ahead and laid out the whole plan.
They told you you would be. Oh, that's great.
They told me. I think they just wanted me to know everything going in. But what ended up happening is I just fell so in love with the Jay Garrick character, because Jay is a lot closer to me in real life. I don't know, sort of an upstanding, do the right thing kind of guy. And then they didn't say anything for months and months, and I got it in my head that they probably changed their mind, because I think they like all the stories I told myself because I was having such a good time playing Jay. And of course that didn't happen. And then I remember being extremely nervous because I put all this work and research into playing Jay. And then when the Zoom stuff came around, I remember kind of scrambling internally, like, oh my God, I got a lot of work to do if I want to do this right. And it ended up being a real like acting exercise to try to go there. And I think it ended up being okay. I will say this, I didn't watch any of it. The one scene I've watched as Zoom all the way through is the Henry Allen death scene, which was on my birthday. And there was one flight out that night, and I was going to surprise, because my wife and I have the same birthday, I was going to fly home and surprise her. And every time we did another take, all I could think of was, I wonder if I'm going to make that flight. And the scene kind of morphed because we started, and that's to this day the hardest thing I've ever shot. There was a lot of tears, and there was a lot of it was just hard. It was just hard every way around. And we got the scene, and I mean they're closing the door as I'm running through the Vancouver airport. So it all worked out. Yeah.
Wow.
You were running very, very fast.
I was, but not as, yeah, ever.
Well, your character arc was a tremendous swerve. Everybody was like, okay, yeah, I did this guy, yeah, Garrick, yeah, okay, right on, we're on this. Wait a minute, who's the guy in the mask? Who's the
right?
The internet was rife with the rumors and the speculation and just everything else, and it played out fantastically. And speaking of fantastic, Jessica, first of all, Jessica, who is your little furry friend?
That's Charlie. He was. I had to put him down. He was getting out of hand there. I have two little furry friends with me, Charlie and Jules. They're my babies.
All right.
I just realized I'm partially in the dark here. Let's turn these bad boys on. Can you see?
Lighting looks good to me. There. All right, there we go.
Ooh, ah.
Hello.
No. So Jessica, how did your involvement with the role of Gypsy begin?
Oh gosh. Yeah, it was an audition at Warner Brothers at the studios in Burbank, and I think it was. I can't remember if it was in the middle of pilot season. I know I had a bunch of auditions, and I was super busy and just trying to. You're an up and coming actor. You're just trying to work. You're just trying to book a job.
Yeah.
You need to pay the rent. But I got the script. I got the audition notice for Gypsy, and I read through it, and I was like, oh my. I gotta book this. Like, I gotta book this. And I started doing research and reading the comics and learning about her. And I think because she was kind of an obscure, more hidden, more unknown character, I just felt like the possibilities were endless to play a character like that, like at the beginning of her story starting to be told. So I was just super excited, man. And I prepped and prayed and showed up, and you prep and pray and you work so hard, but I told myself, like, just have fun. Like, when you go in the room, like, what a gift this is to be able to tell these stories and play these characters and play in the realm of sci-fi and comic books, and like what an amazing job I have. And let me just go, maybe this is the only time I'll ever get to play her. Maybe the only time I'll ever get to experience being Gypsy is in that room when I go into audition. So like, I'm going to show up and I'm going to do that. And that's what I did. Like, I was able to just let go and just like loved jumping into her skin. And I don't know, some kind of magic must have happened because it worked.
All right.
So did they give you kind of here's the immediate plans for the character?
I didn't know too much. I think at the very beginning, I think she was listed, described as potentially reoccurring, which means, maybe we'll see her come back and maybe we won't. This might be just one episode kind of thing. And it ended up being big, and I just never knew if I was like, maybe this is it, guys. So like, after every episode, I'm like, it's been a pleasure working with you guys.
I wish we had seen you in Crisis, because Lord knows they could have used the help.
Oh man, yeah.
Absolutely. So there's obviously a lot of challenges working with special effects heavy series. Did each of you have any sort of effects on the sets stories that you'd like to share?
I'll start this one off. This is the first time you see Garrick in the full costume, episode 2, fighting a character named Sandemon. We had spent days choreographing this fight. A lot of involved moves, and we've really dialed it in. Fight. Get to what we didn't do though is rehearse it with the helmet, which is the first time you see me having it on. Well, the first time I go to dodge a punch, the thing flies off. Okay, you know what? That's my fault, guys. I you know what? I know what to do. Put it back on. Same thing again and again and again. So the prop guy grabs the hat off my head and scurries off while we coordinate something else. We strip it down, and we got a lot to shoot, and time is wasting, and there's a lot of setups to do. So we're figuring this thing out. The prop guy runs back in, and he attaches this little bit of clear fishing line, which he sort of made into a chin strap.
Oh, wow.
And to try to hide it from the camera, I put it behind my ears and under here. And they just said, listen, we'll just digitally kind of scrub it out wherever we see it. And lo and behold, that plus they had to put something in the bowl of the hat to sort of fit sort of more like that. Yeah, exactly. So, but all these things they hadn't thought about yet. They hadn't figured this out yet. They just sort of figured once it'll go on, it'll stay on because it's, it kind of fits and we'll be fine.
Well, thanks for working all that out, Teddy.
The kinks were worked out, man. The kinks were worked out on the spot. And the time is gone. This is what we're recreating, that iconic Flash of Two Worlds cover from Flash 123, September of 1961, where we're both running towards. So we had a lot to get through before we even got there. And we got it all. It was great. But we really only had time for kind of like one take per setup from the rest of the afternoon on. One, maybe two. And the director, Jesse Warren, is that Jesse Warren? Jesse Ware? Jesse Warren. Extraordinary director, very cool. And he just allowed us to get our beats and he calmed the whole thing down. That's my sort of special effects 101 sort of thing. And that had to do with actual, not even throwing fire or throwing like all these other things to do. That's just the technical aspects of like the hardware.
Yeah, well, you and John have both told me that helmet was not the easiest problem to work with your careers.
The only good thing about it was it didn't have to go over your head. So I don't know if you noticed, but every chance I got, I whip it off and put it under my arm. So I kept breaking the wings off, so that didn't make the prop guy too happy. No, I was just delighted when I found out I had a digital double. I thought, you mean I can go like this? And I don't have to run, which at my age would have been a challenge. But we did have a moment in the moment of Flash 90's Ultimate Sacrifice when Barry Allen, the two Barry Allens have this heart-to-heart.
Yeah.
And I tell them about Tina, I tell them about running, the importance of being a superhero. Well, that was all written to be in Flash time because this thing is getting ready to blow up, right? Mm-hmm. Well, to save money, they had decided not to put it in Flash time. And Grant and I looked at each other like, you mean we're going to have this heart-to-heart, while this thing's getting ready to blow up in real time? And Grant was like, no. Man, it has to be in Flash time. It's the only way it makes any sense. If a long conversation really happens that fast while this thing is on the verge of blowing up. So that was fun.
Oh my God.
Yeah, this was my first time working. I believe this was my first time working with green screen. I think this was my first time certainly working with green screen to the extent that I did. And so I had never had to rely so heavily upon my imagination. Mm-hmm. Like activate my imagination, but also stay grounded in the moment and remember my lines. All very important.
Right.
Yeah.
What I do. But it was exciting. I remember one of the first fight scenes that Cisco and I had when we were going through different worlds, and I'm pulling him, grabbing him, throwing him through like a black hole, and like watching him go, and then we're jumping out. Like, it's just crazy. And so I think someone was shouting, so now you're doing, now you're jumping in and you're jumping out of the black hole, you're jumping on it. Wow. So all of these like different parts of your brain are like being activated. But it was so fun because you're getting to like be a kid again and like create these things in your head, only invest in them in such a real way in order to make the audience believe that that's actually what's happening. And I know like one of Gypsy's first signature moves was this thing they wanted me to do. They're like, I don't know, just shoot a vibe blast. And I was like, all right.
Oh sure.
How does one do that? Trying different things. And I was just like, and it just like, you just think, how would a vibe blast come out of a person, And then it just kind of, that became like one of her signature moves. And you really have to kind of envision yourself and use your imagination and what you're doing, and to believe it. So and then when you're doing it as the actor, you're like, oh, I feel kind of dumb here. I mean, But then you see it in the show, you're like, that's magic. Like that really came together. So it's a lot of relying upon one's imagination. Good to have a strong imagination.
Completely, and trusting that the show is going to represent well, and they have the budget. They have the budget to pull it off. As soon as the budget, or maybe not the budget, but the effects are cheesy, you're going to lose the audience like that. The fact that they, like if they can believe every single thing that happens from every frame, they're just going to love it, and they're going to tune in next week. And so trust in all measures. Have an emergency charging situation, guys. Trusting in all measures is sort of the name of the game.
Speaking of special effects, here we go.
Right.
Exactly.
Yes, the special effects are pretty because you never want anybody to say, "Dude, I could totally see the thing holding the helmet down, man."
Yeah, you lose the audience like that, I think.
It's a fishing string. I could see it.
Yeah.
One thing I love that the Flash does really well to that end, even though it's a special effects heavy show and a lot on green screen, I just feel like even as much the audience still believes it and is willing to go on that journey because so much heart is poured into it, like so much emotion, so much like depth of like that the actors really bring to it, that even when you're shooting by blasts out of your hands, it means something. And I just think the Flash does that so well. I think it translates so beautifully on screen, and that's why I think it keeps going on, because it's special. So
it really took time when Teddy killed me. They really took the time, and I remember the first time he did it, it was terrifying. And then it went through, as Teddy has alluded to, it went through a progression until, I don't know what the director said to you, Teddy, but the last time you did it, and I can't see him, right? And I felt all this different kind of energy, and I really felt this Professor Zoom, oh my God, he wants to be Barry. He wants to be Barry. And there was so much heart and wound. That's what I loved about the time that you did it the very last time. I don't know what it was, but there was so much. I felt not just the terror, but the wound. Mm-hmm. And that was
make the flight. That's all I'm thinking. I'm totally kidding. No, I'm totally kidding. But to that end, John, that was the one they used. It sort of built to this. And I remember loving the earlier takes and being like, oh, we gotta fucking do this again. Excuse me. We got to do this again. And that's the one that ended up really working. And that's another thing as an actor. Yep. Sometimes the things that you think are like the most effective, you got to get out of your own way and just let it happen. And good stuff that you never knew was maybe in there ends up being on screen. And that's something to be excited about, that sort of thing can happen even when you're not sort of planning or predicting. It's a wonderful thing. Anyway, but that's a lovely compliment too.
It was awesome. Thank you.
And again, I think this show and Arrow and this whole dynasty that Berlanti and Guggenheim have created with their collaborators, it's still based on humanity. It's still with all the effects and all the costumes and everything else. These are all very human stories. These are all like wonderfully wonderful characters, and there's not a weak link in the bunch. And this cast is got a tremendous lattice that it's built, and I hope it continues to build too, even after Crisis.
Absolutely.
Indeed. So, I think we got some questions from our audience, so let's go ahead and roll them. And our first one goes to Mark. What was your favorite memory on filming The Flash?
I love that Mark spelled favorite with OU, so I know he's not writing in from the United States. Thanks for tuning in from the UK or wherever you are. Favorite memory. I'll just say really quickly, I remember my first day and feeling like the new kid at school. Everyone at each other, a really tight group of people. The show was a real hit in season 1, and just being welcome. Like talking to me, asking me questions. I just immediately felt like just part of the gang. It's not an on-camera, but that really, these guys really, really like each other. They like each other a lot. They're great friends. They hang out. Like, I felt that immediately. Well, was my favorite memory.
Cool. Teddy, I'm going to ask you to log out, log back in again. I think your connection is a little drilly, so you look like you're in an aquarium right now. So if you log back out, log back in again. Yeah, be right back. Be back at a Flash.
There's an opportunity there. I mean, sure.
Jessica, what have you got?
I think my favorite memory of filming The Flash was when Cisco and I, Carlos, who plays Cisco, and I shot our goodbye scene to one another, where we broke up and like I was leaving and we both knew it and we both knew we were done and it was the end of our relationship. And again, speaking about the heart in the writing, that was brutal. We were both really, really torn up. I mean, I think about it now and I get emotional because there was so much heart. in their storyline, in their love. There was so much between them, and Carlos is such an amazing actor. He's so giving, and he's so like present and right there with you in the moment. And when you're working with somebody like that, that just allows you to keep, like you said, to throw away your plans and to just be there in the moment and listening and receiving and really being present and exploring this really human exchange and this really sad, devastating moment between two people who love each other, but they just know they can't be together because it's just not working. They cannot make it work. We were raw with emotion, and it was beautiful. And at the end, and I think it came out so beautifully. I was so proud of him. I was really proud of the work. I thought it was such a beautiful, tender scene. And so afterwards, we were just like emotionally exhausted. You feel like you've run like miles, right, guys? Like when you're like emotionally, I am exhausted. And we just hugged each other, and I just felt really proud. I think that was towards the end of like that part of my journey, Gypsy's journey. And it was a moment where I was able to look back on the journey and how far we'd come and all the twists and turns. And I felt really proud. And I think that was my favorite moment.
Well, again, on this show and this whole series, never say never. If you don't believe me, you can ask John.
That's right. I'm glad I didn't know 30 years ago that 30 years later, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'd be back in that red suit. I might not have been able to go on. My favorite thing was that they asked me to come back, and that they asked me to come back in a role that was so different from the version of Henry Allen played by Emmett Walsh, the great Emmett Walsh, who was my father. So people said, does it seem familiar? Does it seem weird? And I said, no, not really. I said, because it's like opening the door to a familiar house and all the interior is different. Suddenly Henry Allen is this rich character. People said, why don't you be Jay Garrick? Why don't you be Jay Garrick? And I was like, well, that would have been a little on the nose, right? Here's how to be a superhero, kid. But to have a chance to participate with Grant as he is assuming the role, and to play the role of his father, knowing what some of his hopes and dreams might be, him knowing that I was the Flash, and being able to pass the mantle in terms of a father-son blessing. All those scenes first season are some of the favorite of my entire career. Wow. And then turning into Jay Garrick, and then when they said, we want you to come back as Flash 90, I'm like, are you out of your minds? You know how long ago that was, right? But Kate Main and the wonderful craftspeople at Ocean Drive Leather in Vancouver, we all got it together, and we found a new version of the suit, and they stuffed me in it. And the way it was written and directed, it was sort of a full circle experience.
Just what I thought. There were no more surprises with you on the show. When they just dropped that picture of you in the original suit, the entire internet just crashed. We were all like, it was a lively day on the message boards. So, great, Mark. Thank you for that one. And what's next from Jen, from Alex? From Alex, age 8. Okay, and Jen's typing it for him. What was Zoom's mask or your costumes made of?
John said it. The suit was leather, and it was made at Ocean Drive. I think that was the name of the shop. They did the mask as well. I wish I could tell you what that material was. I don't know my poly, spongy, plasticky, but it was this. It was this custom fit. It was very comfortable. I don't know, but it was foamy. There was no. If you look at a picture of Zoom, the nose has no holes. So all the breathing had to take place through the mouth, but the mouth is cut into slits. And so to save time, whenever Zoom had his mask on in a scene, a stuntman named Ryan Handy, I think Ryan, I'm so sorry, it might be Handley. Ryan, this ginormous Australian dude, he's bigger than me, so it was cool. It made me look bigger. He would wear it, but because of the cuts here and the sort of the holes here, he looked like a raccoon. They blacked his eyes around here, and then they blacked his mouth and his teeth. So every time Zoom spoke, it was dark. You couldn't see a mouth through there. So it was a little tricky. And then every scene that the mask came off, I had to start with it on. So I learned sort of, all these sort of tricks to hide all that stuff before taking it off. But the suit was heavy duty. It had muscles built in. I didn't have to go to the gym. It was a beautiful thing. I'll be walking around with clothing with things sewn into them.
Well, lucky you, because I had to wear a corset to fit into mine, okay?
Oh, no.
Hello.
Really?
Don't know what a corset is. It is
the
this device that you put on. It's a piece of clothing. It's a torture device from the early days, long ago, where women used to try and have these teeny tiny waists. So they strap you in this thing and they tie it all up, and then they take the ties and they go like this. And so your waist goes, and like you have to hold your baby, you have to and like hold it and then pull it tight. This is what I had to do to get in that jacket.
Oh my.
Gypsy's a fighter. So when we realized that Gypsy was like starting to move and fight, I was like, guys, can't breathe. We're gonna have to. So we got a bigger jacket, and then I could just let it all out, just breathe,
right.
hang out. So when I had the fight scenes, I put on the bigger jacket, and then,
wow,
because the jacket, I think Gypsy was wearing just cargo jeans and like a camouflage T-shirt, like a sleeveless T-shirt, just like this. Mm-hmm. Really, the jacket made it. The jacket was the whole thing. So yeah, it was all about that jacket.
Nice.
I'm gonna try and get that jacket.
Yeah, I hear you. Been trying for years.
Right.
John, there was a big difference though. The new version of the '90 costume was, I always say, it was more comfortable than the original one.
Yeah, people said, was that the original suit? And I'm like, are you kidding? Because it was sweat and sweat and sweat, and they had glued individual muscle pieces onto a spandex suit, which began crumbling because I was sweating through it about the first 20 minutes I was in it. So there was constant maintenance, and they couldn't clean them. So they would hang them in my trailer and spray them with Lysol, and they'd be wet and sticky the next day. It was not a pleasant experience for anyone. Jay Garrick, the muscles were underneath the leather. And so you could wash that Under Armour,
Yeah.
The new version of Flash 90, they use more breathable materials.
Yeah.
We didn't want it to be quite as big because the aesthetic of the new show is, trimmer, more realistic. Yeah. And the big plus was the original suit had to be glued to my face and under my chin, and to my nose. So they were constantly taking that off, putting on makeup for Barry, taking the makeup off, putting the glue on, taking that off with acetone. So I was like raw. Plus, once you were in it, you were in it. They made it in the new version so that I could flip. They would zip up the back and I could flip the cowl forward, and the steam could come out of the suit.
Wow.
We laugh because we understand. I think
right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes. And people who have cosplayed as either Zoom or
I know.
God bless those guys. I see them walk around all day, and it's like,
love it,
man.
Yeah, I'm going hydrate.
Yes.
All those guys.
Yes, absolutely. John and Alex, thank you. That was a great question. Let's see. This from Ashoka. If you had the chance to be in any other franchise, such as Star Wars or Disney, which would you choose?
Wow.
All right. I can go first. I would like to be in Hellboy.
All right.
I have always loved Hellboy. I'm a huge fan. I just think is like the coolest world. So Hellboy representatives, you can just feel free to call me. I'll send you my reps contact info, and I'll be waiting on your call.
I'll see it. I'll buy it.
Yes.
Totally.
I would have to say Star Wars so I could work with Mark yet again,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I've worked with him as different versions of the Trickster, different speedsters. It's been a remarkable journey.
That's awesome.
Absolutely.
Wow. I mean, I'm sort of in two minds. One is the actor who to be a part of anything franchise just sounds like a dream because of the sort of the built-in universe that's already there. To be more specific, I don't know, guys. I've just always been a DC Comics fan. Not always, but since digging into the Flash, a real DC Comics fan. And I just like, God, there's a great there's a great run called Strange Adventures. Like there's a lot of great characters in that run from, I think it started in 50 or 51.
Yeah.
Captain Comet is a really cool character. I think he's issue 6 or 8 when he first comes out. I'm a Golden Age comic books fan.
Yeah.
And Strange Adventures were sort of these cool one-off, like really weird, I don't know. So that's where I am.
You would do a really good job at Captain Comet, because he's got a great Buck Rogers era aesthetic to him, and you'd rock it.
Make it happen.
I approve.
You heard it here first.
Make it happen. Okay.
Right.
Let's do it. Soka, thank you. That was a great question. What do we have next? From Kara. Did you guys get to keep any items from the show?
Ooh.
Like your outfit or anything? I don't think they let him take a whole costume, but
when you say get to keep, do they know that we
Yes, they figure.
Did they give it to us, or did we
let's anything you want to admit.
I have Zoom's crest, which I remember on the last scene we shot when she just ripped it off and handed it to me. And I also have a Garrick helmet, one of the prop, like not the heavy duty one. I have like a plastic one that was used for the non close up shots. And I probably should get it, but it's tucked away. That's it. That's what I have.
Cool story. It'll slide off your head anyway.
Yeah,
a cool story about.
Go ahead, John.
Cool story about the first show. After we shot the last shot, I ripped the wings off and threw them in the air, and Mark Hamill got them. So he has those wings. But I did take Barry Allen's raincoat, where when I was Barry Allen, and I was like, analyzing footprints and things. You'd see me wearing it all the time in the wet streets at 3 o'clock in the morning. And I did take that, and I told Andrew I had it. So he said, let's use it in the new show. And so when Barry saves me from the box of knives from the trickster, and he reveals himself to me, and we're going back to Iron Heights, and we stop by Star Labs, I'm wearing that coat that I wore in the original show. So that was kind of fun. A little Easter egg.
That's very cool.
Oh, that is really awesome.
I think I kept some randoms. I think first I kept the pair of Gypsy eyelashes that I walked out with on the last day. I was going to wear those. They fell off of my eyes. They were a look, honey, and I rocked those as long as I could. So that was, and then I kept my name. When you're an actor and you see your name on your director's chair. It's
Chairbacks,
a big thing. And then all of our names they were on like the Flash logo, right? Like they had the Flash's face on it, and then it said my name, and I was like, I'm just gonna take this.
Yeah.
I think everybody was fine with it, but that's my prized possession.
There's 2 more things I forgot. For the CC Jitters, the coffee shop, there's a mug or 2 in my
Oh yeah, I have a mug. Slipped it under my raincoat.
Comes in handy.
I really should have grabbed one of those. I really should have grabbed one.
And for Christmas, the year I was there, 2015, I made some of these Star Labs toques, beanies. Hold on. There we go.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I think I made about a dozen of them. I had a local company make the patch, and then I gave them out to the cast. And
that is so cool. What a thoughtful gift.
Maybe I'll auction them off to raise a little money one of these days soon.
That's a great idea.
You know what?
Cool.
I'm gonna do it.
Please let us know when we do. We'll forward it on our social media.
Sounds good. Yeah.
Kara, thank you for that one. And a reminder to our audience, if you'd like to chat with our panelists like I am now, purchase an autograph, or get a personalized recorded message, please sign up at GalaxyCon.com. And Jude, let's do another one. Oh, this one's from Ileana, and she wants to know, what was your favorite episode of filming The Flash?
So we talked about favorite moment already. Right? So the episode.
Yeah, so maybe a favorite episode. Yeah.
You guys go first.
Well, I have to pick one per character. I loved the hospital scene as Henry Allen. In the original show, I loved the scene between Sean and Barry where I'm telling him I can't run as fast as his uncle, but if he ever needs me, I'll be there in a flash. And then as Jay Garrick, it was the scene where I'm rescuing Wally in the Speed Force, and I give Barry the helmet to get out of the Speed Force. I thought that was the first time we connected as Jay and Barry in similar way that Henry and Barry. And then I love the way they handled the end of the story for Flash 90. It wasn't sentimental. It was, I have a job to do. This is it. This is my sacrifice. My world is gone. My wife is gone. You have an entire superhero. This is what I'm going to do. Keep riding the lightning, kid. You know, and off I went. So, and then they slipped in that clip from the original show, which I didn't know until looping that they were going to do, and my knees buckled. So that was fun.
That's beautiful.
That was that scene got me right in the feels, because as a comic fan, and you know that when the Flash passed away in Crisis on Infinite Earths #8, I was like, oh, is this gonna happen? It happened, and it was beautiful, in the saddest way possible.
Yeah.
Well, I love the way they did it. It's one of those instances, I think, Jessica, you mentioned it earlier, when everything comes together. There's so many elements. And I felt in that the directing, the acting, the writing, the lighting, the production values. It's one of those moments where I felt all the pieces just fit together like a puzzle. And I couldn't have been happier with the conclusion of that. And I never have to wear that suit again.
I knew it! I knew it! Got you on camera.
Fantastic. I'll just my favorite episode was probably part of the favorite moment. It was episode 2. This is as the Jay character getting greeted by everyone. There was a lot of exposition telling the story of how I ended up there, and then ultimately fighting and recreating this this famous Flash 123 Flash of Two Worlds cover. That was a favorite, just because, God, what an opportunity to be able to do that. And on the Zoom side of things, I don't know the episode, but it was when Zoom reveals himself to the Star Labs team. And for the first time all season, I was always on like this side of the table with everyone, trying to solve the metahuman of the week sort of crisis.
About that?
And for the first time, I was on the other side of the room, and they were all looking at me like I was their worst enemy. And it was that moment personally where I was like, guys, I've been missed this so much, because we're never going to be on the side of the table again. Yeah. And there was a sort of a smug sort of, I don't know, there was a whole thing that was special to me, but it left its impression not because it was so wonderful, but because it was like, that was a point of no return for me as the actor on the show, but memorable nonetheless.
That's awesome.
Very cool. Very cool.
I don't know what episode it was, but it was the one where Cisco and I had our first kiss.
Whoa!
That was a good one. That was a good one. It was hot too, might I add.
Whoa!
Eliana. Thank you for that. Hey, what's next? From Miranda. Oh, who is the funniest person on set?
Cisco.
Carlos. But right? Carlos and Tom together
yes.
are like, yeah, they're insane.
They're crazy.
They're crazy.
And they just egg each other on. And they had me rolling.
All the time.
I remember when I did the first couple episodes, and then I went away. And we were all still new in the first couple episodes. And when I came back, Jesse was over in this corner teaching Grant a new tap step. And somebody was singing a song over here. And then here comes Tom giving Carlos a ride in the wheelchair and going around and around and around. And I'm looking at all this like, what happened to you guys? It was like dropping in on the asylum. But Jessica's absolutely right. When it's time to work for that group, everybody taps into something very real and very honest.
Yeah.
But there was always a sense of play. You're right. Singing and dancing.
Yes.
And, oh my God, it was a very fun, very upbeat, very musical set. And you're right. It always crystallized like, let's go to work. And then as soon as it was cut, it was like right back to the shenanigans. And it was a very, very fun and light set to be a part of.
I can't say enough, and I tell everybody, I love that cast. I love that cast. I think as human beings, like you said, like you were saying earlier, like you felt on your first day, you felt so like welcomed. I was like blown away with how welcomed I was made to feel. And honestly, and they're good human beings. You know, and you would think like they've been on the show forever. They work so hard. Oh my God, it's exhausting the schedule they have to work. It is exhausting. But you know what? They show up and they're kind. And I don't know if they were doing this when you guys worked, but they hugged it out before at the beginning of every day. They would start each day with everybody hugs, and it's so much love. And I just love them. They're just good people.
I will follow that up, because I know you all can't, but yeah, not all shows and not all sets are like that for our audience. Sometimes they're very matter of fact. Oh yeah, it's you, actor number 7. Get there. There's your.
That's right.
It's very matter of factly. But and I've heard again stories from your peers another way too, that there's such a great infectious and warm energy that it shows.
And it was there from day one when we first went to San Diego Comic-Con for the first time, and it was. You know, everybody goes to eat, all the different shows in the same big, huge buffet. And people were all at different tables, actors with their people, you know, with their managers, with their publicists, with their agents. And someone said to me, hey, look around. What do you see? And I said, well, I see a room full of actors. He said, okay, now look at you guys' table. And the whole cast was together.
Yeah.
We were all at the same table. And it has felt like that the whole time. I remember when I had to put on a superhero costume for the first time in over a quarter of a century. And I was so nervous. And I remember when I had to put the helmet on, I'm standing there. And first of all, the crew applauded. That made me feel better. But then, God, Candace was so awesome. I was looking around. I must have looked nervous because she was going,
oh, that's cool.
And then Grant called the camera, and then he turned the monitor around. And he said, see how great you look. See how great you look.
Oh, come on.
It's a great group. It's a great group. Man, miss those guys.
Absolutely. We have time for one more question for our audience, so I'll ask Jude to throw it out on us.
Wow.
And this is from Philip. What do you like about working on The Flash? And are you happy with how your characters have evolved?
I'll start us off. What do I like about working on The Flash? Honestly, everything. From start to finish, I could sit here all day and talk about why it's been such an amazing experience and why it's been such a high point in my entire career. It changed my life. I don't know which one of you guys said that. It changed my life for the better. I learned so much as an actor. I love working in that world. I love the limitless possibility that is working in sci-fi and in comics. Like, nothing is impossible. Everything is possible. So that's just my favorite. And then working on a show that not only has the action, has the fights, has all of it, right? Has the comic book history, has all of it, has the Easter eggs for true diehard fans. Like, it has so much heart. And so you get to show up and you get to like pour your heart into it and all your real emotions. You get to do that. And I think that's a rare event when those two things are combined, the sci-fi, the comic, and then with so much heart, you just get this really beautiful world. Am I happy with how my character evolved? Absolutely. I think, her story went where it was meant to go, and anything is possible. So that's what I got.
I mean, the same. That was beautiful.
Yeah.
I got nothing to add.
Ditto.
All right.
Yeah.
That's all. That's all you want to say, Teddy?
Yes.
Okay, he's done. That's it. Beautiful in one word. Well, there are no one-word answers after 60. I hate to tell you, but to look at this franchise from so many different angles, from Barry Allen, and then I voiced Professor Zoom in an episode of Batman the Brave and the Bold, and then to come back and play Henry Allen, and then to be reinvented as Jay Garrick, and then to circle back to Flash of Earth 90. It's been nothing I ever anticipated. I remember Carla Prinzi on the backlot of Warner Brothers, publicist at the time. We had done the show had premiered, and we were walking to the back lot, and she said, this is the role you were born to play. And of course, being a young sarcastic actor, I shot back, oh God, I hope not. Well, I think I owe Carla Prinzi an apology, because while I have, in between Broadway and in between other series and other shows, this is the thread. And one of my favorite things is going to conventions and how emotional people are when they come up to you and they said, I used to watch your show with my father, and now I'm watching the new show with my kids, and you're the thread that runs through that. Woo. I mean, it's remarkable.
Wow.
That's magical.
Absolutely. As has been GalaxyCon viewers, this has been the cast of The Flash, and that was my time, but it does not have to be yours. If you'd like to chat with our panelists, purchase an autograph, or get a personalized recorded message, please head over to GalaxyCon.com, and while you're there, be sure to check out our schedule of upcoming events just like this one. Panelists, before we go, do you have any final words for our audience?
Me? Panelists? Us? All of us?
Yes.
I wasn't sure for a second. I was like,
I know.
I just want to say, Jessica, Teddy, Patty, this has been a gift for me to see you guys and to spend this time with you.
Me too, John.
Absolutely.
Same here. What an awesome experience. To everyone watching, thank you for showing up. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for supporting us like you have and making it possible for us to keep making stories like this and making art for you. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, and I'll just sum it up. I'm used to, when I'm lucky enough to get the opportunity, getting on a plane, going to a city, going into a room, and then you guys come and find us behind our tables. This is an incredible way to connect with people all over the world all at once. I think in a new sort of, mold breaking way that I hope continues. So it's been a real pleasure. It's really, really fun to talk about the show and these memories, and to talk about sort of our careers and how the heck we got so lucky. Thank you for your time, and thanks for caring about what we had to say. It means a ton.
That's it.
As always, I've enjoyed hosting you all tremendously. Again, thanks, this format has been fantastic, but I absolutely do look forward to the day we can have you back on our stages directly in front of your fans.
Yes.
So until then, audience, thank you for joining us, and thank you for those great questions you all sent in. And please, we hope you join us next week. We'll have guests from Star Trek, Power Rangers, the Rocky Horror Picture Show, and a heck of a lot more. Bye-bye, everyone. Take care, and keep washing those hands.